Dreaming in Fibre. I am your host, Sarah from Sarah's Texture Crafts. You can find me online as Sarah's Texture Crafts in most places. That's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and beyond. You can find all of the details on my main website, sarahstexturecrafts.com, where you will also find all of my fibre and yarn goodness as well. So welcome to the show. It is mid-May and I thought I would record a hopefully very quick podcast, but I'm looking at my show notes and there's probably actually quite a lot to go through. And I didn't want to wait another couple of weeks because in a couple of weeks I will have done Proper Woolly, so it would be nice to get you an episode out that's all about that particular show. So let's crack on to Time in Review. Okay, so what have I been up to since I last saw you? Not a huge amount, I don't think. Last podcast was all about Wonderwall. When I finished Wonderwall, we had a quick week off, which I think I told you about, and I taught a class over that time as well. Since then, it's kind of been busy with shop stuff, really. Stuff for the website, working on some new behind-the-scenes stuff, which I'll allude to a little bit more about in a minute. And really just cracking on with production for Proper Woolly, which is my next show. I did manage to get to John Arbon's mill sale this weekend just gone, and I'm sure you'll hear about it in a couple of other UK podcasts, including Owl About Yarn, Jenny's podcast, because I saw her on Saturday, which was nice to catch up with her. So quick shout outs, I guess I ought to mention Jenny of Owl About Yarn. She's mentioned me on her first few podcasts, so thank you very much for that. So a shout out return to you. It's a great little podcast. You can watch her over on YouTube. She's Owl About Yarn, and she's also started her own Etsy shop selling hand-dyed fibre and hand-dyed yarn, so go and check her out, Owl About Yarn. And the second shout out goes to Chrissy from Stitch Together. She's a video podcast, was originally an audio podcast like I was. I'm not sure whether she still does a bit of audio as well, but yeah, I follow her again on YouTube, so go and check her out. She's mentioned me a couple of times and my products as well, so thank you very much, Chrissy. Okay, so let's get into the John Arbon Mill Day. Well, what can I say? It was a really beautiful day. It was supposed to be pouring with rain, so was a little bit concerned that the trip over there was going to be a bit treacherous in places, because we like to go over to the mill via the back roads. It's a much more pleasant kind of scenic route, so when the weather's good it is a fantastic view, and of course it was a perfect sunny day in the end. So this time of year, all of the fields are just so green and luscious, and everything is just beautiful. You just really enjoy the drive, and that's before you get to the mill. When we were there, I did the tour with John and a member of his team, and also caught up and said hi to Juliet, who's John's wife, who also runs John Arbon Textiles, and caught up with a couple of people I know from sort of local fibre-y things or customers, that kind of thing. As we were all grabbing our yarn and bits. So I'm going to insert some pictures in a moment just before I go into shop news, and that will give you a bit of a flavour of the day. I definitely recommend checking out their yarn and their product. I will talk about them more in Stash, so I'll wait a little bit later for that so you can see what I purchased, and I'll mention their website again there. And also in the show notes at dreamingandfibre.blogspot.co.uk you can find all of the links for today's show. So having said that, let's go into shop news. Okay, so what have I got for you in the shop this week? Well, talk about the gradient update that I've done. I think you will have seen pictures of that at the end of the last podcast. If not, then you will have just seen them in this podcast. I'm going to remember to go back and put those in. I had a great response to the gradients, the limited edition gradient fibres, and to the yarns as well. So thank you very much to everyone who bought something, and don't forget, if you still fancy spinning up some gradient yarns, or knitting or crocheting some gradient fibre, then you can find those at sarastexturecrafts.com. Also, my spinning book for gradient fibre is there as well. I've got a few copies of that left. That went down very well, so I just thought I would show you my gradient projects, just to give you maybe a bit more of an idea about how to use gradient yarns in this particular instance. So at the end of the photographs, just before I started talking, you will have seen this project where I had my gradient yarn. Now, gradient yarns, for those of you who don't know, they start from one colour and blend into the next. This particular skein that I'm using is called a colour block gradient, if you like, and it goes sharply from one colour to another. And I've had several colours in this one, as you will have seen in those pictures. This is how much I've got left. I'm knitting the Hitchhiker by Martina Bem. So if I start right at the beginning, fantastically true colours today on the camera there, but you can see I started right at the end with one little point and worked up through one colour. It goes seamlessly to the next, which is quite nice if you're knitting something easy like this, because you know you can easily get through a block in a few evenings, which is quite nice. And then that transitioned to a different colour purple there, and now I'm on to this lime green, which is in the centre of the ball that I showed you. I'm pretty much on target to get all of my points, I think, to fulfil the Hitchhiker Guide to the Galaxy's answer to the universe, and I definitely recommend this pattern, the Martina Bem Hitchhiker pattern. Very easy to knit. It makes for a really nice TV knitting project, or a take-along project as well, because it's really only a few rows that you have to remember from point to point. So I recommend that. This I'm knitting as part of my craft along, which I'll talk again about in a bit, so I'll leave that one out so I can go back to it and remind myself to mention it. The next thing that will be coming this Thursday are my Donegal yarns. Now, I know these won't be completely new bases to you if you're here in the UK. A lot of people tend to have this base, but I was waiting to find the perfect version of it. So again, in those pictures you saw before I started talking, you will have seen this in its better colouring, but I've decided that I wanted to knit this yarn into a hat, so just to have a really quick project on the needles, so I can give you an idea of how it knits up for when I launch. And this is my Rusty Gate colourway, so when you go into the website you will be able to find Donegal as a category under the base options, which I'm just about to show you. I've got my iPad up here so I can talk about some of the changes that are on the website. And yeah, as you can see, you've got some nice stitch definition, and then you've got those lovely coloured neps in there as well, which give a nice texture, and there you can see one there, a nice texture and a really nice hand feel. So look out for those. This will be available in 4-ply, DK and Aran, and you will be able to buy it on semi-solid bases. So all of my pre-order colours for semi-solid colours, variegated colours, my gradients when I get a chance to to dye those up because that will be a limited edition piece. And also the overwashed colourways as well, so colours like Totnes and things like that. So really enjoying it. It's really soft, really squishy. This is the Aran base. Really enjoying it. Can't wait to finish it. And that may actually be a new design as well. I'm waiting to come up with how I'm going to do the decreases and finish it off, and I'm hoping that that will be a new easy pattern that you'll be able to pick up in the store and on Ravelry as well. So let me just grab my iPad and I will talk a bit more about the website and those new yarn categories. Okay, so hold on. Okay, so over on the website you will see that I've changed the top. I'm going to start doing a banner that will give you an idea of what the latest month's updates are about. And again, along the side you've got everything you need there. I've just added some extra categories for the yarn that I want to tell you about, so let me take you through those. If you scroll down, you will see a yarn in stock section, and what that does is that shows you the things that you can immediately buy. Everything else under the other yarn categories will all be pre-orders, and those are made quite obvious for you in the category headings and in the listings as well. So if you need something desperately, then check out that category. At the moment you can see my gradients that are left are in there. Then I've done yarn by weight, so you'll be able to, if you're just looking for 4-ply, you can just press 4-ply, and then up will come every single colour, regardless of dye technique, that you can buy in 4-ply currently from me. The same with DK, the same with Aran. Did have a few questions about lace recently. I used to do a lot of lace yarn and it sold quite well, but then it kind of slowed down and stopped, and I found that people actually were looking more for 4-ply and above. So I've stopped doing lace for the moment, so you won't be able to find that with me. If I get a lot more interest and you know, my yarn sales increase, then that might be something I revisit in the future, but for now I'm just 4-ply weight and above. So that's, if you're in America, that's fingering and above. Or fingering and heavier, I should say. The next category down is yarn by base. So at the moment you've got Barber Pole, Luxe, Shine, Sparkle, Standard and Superwash. So if I press, for example, Barber Pole, gives you an image of the yarn, details of the bases, and you know, I mean, for example, this one is available in 4-ply, but it's also available in DK, so it gives you all of those details. And then you just scroll down, you pick a listing, let's say pick Rose there. The listing comes up for you, and then you've got the drop down box which shows you what bases you can buy that in. If you select Barber Pole, which is the page we've just come from, then you will have had all of the information regarding Barber Pole, so you just click on that, add it to cart and so on. If I go back, the next one down is by dye technique. So for example, if you know you've bought a skein previously for me, on the front of the skein it will say whether it's a tweed or a variegated or a gradient or a semi-solid, and again you can click on one of those sections and it will show you everything that's available within that dye technique. And then underneath, which I showed you last time, is the yarn by colour. So if you wanted to pick, say, orange, you click on that and everything that's got on an orange colour in it, or the majority of it, will show up on that page for you. And that's it. So I'm hoping, whilst that sounds like a very complicated way to find your yarns, that actually it will make it easy, because I know that people coming to the website will be looking and trying to find yarns from different avenues, if you like. So I know that I have customers who try and find yarns based on the ball band that they have from a previous yarn. Some people are just looking for a particular weight for projects, or some people are looking for a particular dye technique because they've seen me blog about it or seen something on the podcast, like me just, for example, talking about gradients and so on. So You've got lots of different ways to find the colours that you need, and there are lots of different colour choices available for you. On that front as well, I'm also working on some new bases, so I'm not going to show you too much, apart from this, to say that I just found my next base. So I'm going to do some dye tests on this. I've knit up a small swatch with it and I love it. I love the way that it comes out. So I'm going to dye with this and see how the dyes take to it. And all being well, this will be the next dye base I release. I'm also working on some new kits as well. I've had a lot of people asking me about particular things, and these were all things that I'd had in mind that I would release kind of long term, and actually I'm hoping in the next few months that they might start to filter through now for you, so exciting times. The next thing to mention is Proper Woolly. That's the 30th and the 31st of May. It's at Holsworthy Cattle Market, and you'll be able to find lots of people like myself. You'll also be able to find farmers there with fleeces and so on, and so you'll be able to follow the Fibre process from animal through to a finished product, whether you're a felter, spinner, weaver, a dyer, a knitter, a crocheter, you know, the list goes on. Fibre artists, in whatever realm you prefer to kind of craft in, you should find something for you there. It's going to be a fairly intimate affair because it's quite a small location, and of course it's the first show in that area. But I think it's going to be a good one. There's also going to be workshops on as well. I'm going to be teaching a needle felting workshop, so if you're in the area, do pop along and see me. I will be on stand D09, I think. All details are on the website sarastexturecrafts.com, and it'd be nice to see you, so pop along to that one. On the 20th of June, I will be at the Weavers, Spinners and Dyers Guild in Somerset, and that will be their annual fleece day, which is open to the public. Again, details for that are on the website. If you would like to come along and you need more specific directions, then I can you know, send you the link to the Google map and so on, so check those out. God, it seems like it's been really busy here this past couple of weeks, and lots more new stuff to come. So I guess the final things to mention are the updates and my newsletter. I kind of shifted both of those to a monthly format, which worked quite well for me and also for this podcast. But what I would like to do going forward is, as often as I can, do those twice a month. So one at the beginning of the month and one kind of mid-month like this week. The reason for that is that I would like to be able to offer you more exclusive offers, discounts, that kind of thing. But also I've got a lot of stuff that I've been working on that I need to kind of release and get going on. And also it gives me an opportunity to you know, show you things on the website and the changes that I've made. I've been running Sara's Texture Crafts now for 9 years. It will be mid-July this year, and so I've got to the point where I'm pretty comfortable with where I am, what I'm doing, and the kind of focus for the future. But what I really need to do, I think, is to kind of reinvigorate the website and my product lines to kind of show that you know, sort of next step progression, if you like. And so it's quite exciting. It's a lot of hard work, but it's quite exciting. And I hope that by giving you those bursts a couple of times a month instead of once a month, it will help you to you know, see that progression, and hopefully as we go into the 10th year, it will be a progression that will suit all of us, I think. So I'm feeling a bit chuffed with myself. I wasn't expecting to stand here, you know, almost 9 years later after starting Sara's Texture Crafts. So yeah, kind of chuffed with that. So big thanks to you guys as well, because without your support I wouldn't be here, and you know, that's the reality of it. So I think that's everything for shop news. I'm going to quickly show you some works in progress and then talk a bit about the crafts along, and then that's probably it for today. So let's crack on. Going to be a bit of bending in and out of shot here, and that's just as I grab some of my whips, because I've got some of my sweaters, yes, you heard. Sweaters seems to be a bit of a new thing for me, and I can't stop casting them on. I'm going to start first of all with my socks, the Chopin Vola socks. So I showed you the finished one last time, and I think I showed you the beginnings of a second one as well. I don't think since the last time I podcast that I got hugely far with this, so I've just turned the heel and I'm starting down the foot. I think I've finished the decreases. I'll have to check that, maybe a few more to go, but yeah, it's going. You know my feelings about this particular sock project, but I'm not enamoured with it, and what can I say? So it's kind of languishing on the needles for a bit, but actually, given the other stuff that I've had to do and the stuff that I've got to do, both for the shop and in terms of personal projects and things, I'm kind of okay with that. You know, I'm really not too stressed about having something languishing on the needles. The next one I want to show you on my little list here, I did actually write some show notes for myself, is I'm going to have to bend down the first of my sweaters. So I'll show you my cotton and bamboo tea sweater. Okay, so last time I showed you this, I think I got just under the arms. As you can see, I'm down on the body. Fits nice. A little bit of creasing there where it's been in the bag, but that's the cotton element of the yarn. So it's King Cole's cotton bamboo yarn, and it's coming up quite nicely. It's just, I think, just under bust now. So I've just got a little bit left of the body to do, and then I'm tempted to do quite a long rib. I'm not sure. We're going to see how we go. I might try that, and then I can always rip back if it doesn't work particularly. This is a make it up as you go sweater. If you watch the last few podcasts, you will have heard me talk about it a bit more, and if you follow the blog craftsofTexture.com, you certainly will have read a bit more about this particular piece. I have been asked if there will be a pattern at the end of it. The answer is I don't know. Whilst I know how to grade from a woven point of view, grading in a knit point of view is a little bit different. So that's something I'm going to have to, you know, sort of kind of do my research about, and maybe have some test knitters if I go that route. I might release maybe just a recipe in the same way that the gilet de courte d'été cardigan is. And that's a free pattern on Ravelry that you've seen me knit a number of times. So I don't really know. I'm going to see how it turns out. The most important thing for this project for me is that it becomes something that I love and adore, because quite often some of the knit pieces I make I like for a short while, and then I look at it again and I think the fit isn't perfect, and so it kind of gets abandoned and either given away or just put in a drawer somewhere. And so I really want to start intentionally knitting pieces that I'm going to wear over a long period of time and have lots of joy from, you know, because it's a lot of work that you put into these things. So we shall see. That's my first sweater project, and that's going nicely. I knit just literally a few rows every other evening. If I haven't got anything else that I prefer to knit on, and I'm in no rush for it. It's quite nice actually knitting at this pace rather than feeling I have to get it done, because it means I can spend time being a little bit more considered about how I, you know, shape my armholes, how you know, how far do I go before I start the rib of the hem, and so on. The next one was kind of a quick cast on, and let me show you. Just pop this away. I'm knitting this with Fibre Harvests, which is John Arbon's yarn, and it's their Knit by Numbers Merino DK range. And I've got 3 colours. I've got KBN 22, 23 and 24, I believe it is. If you check out my Ravelry project page or the blog at craftsoftexture.com, you will see all of the correct details on there. And they are 3 skeins of slightly graduating to lighter shade. Really lovely squishy yarn. Definitely recommend knitting with it. It's been a joy to knit with so far, and I think I'm going to really enjoy wearing this. Again, this has been a bit of a make it up as you go kind of a project. Seem to be a big fan of those at the moment. It does mean a lot of trying on as you go, but actually I'm hoping that it will mean a better project for me. I'm not going to show you a huge amount of it, so because again this might be something that I release. It might not be. Going to see how we go on that one, but if you're following on the blog craftsoftexture.com, or if you see my Ravelry page, you'll be able to see the latest pictures of that, and I will have inserted those earlier here. As I say, loving the yarn. I knit so far, this amount of knit is I want to say 3 evenings work, so it's knit up really quickly. I'm using fairly big needles really, but the idea is that this is going to be a kind of light tee that's a layering piece that I'll wear over long sleeve t-shirts, that kind of thing. So that's the second sweater, and the reason for casting this on actually was quite funny. I remember having a conversation, and I can't remember who it was with, but about stash, and this person was saying, you know, my stash is terribly out of control. You know, I just don't know what to do with it. I've got to the point where I just literally cannot buy anything else until I cast some of that on and get some projects off the needles. And so I said, well, you know, to be fair, I'm probably pretty much the same, because I bought several containers back along, and I can't remember whether I told you about this, but I bought 10 with the intention that only 6 would be full of my stash, and that I would have 4 spare that I could use for stock and that kind of thing, and maybe travel to shows and so on. And actually what happened was I ended up filling all 10 quite easily with my stash. That's spinning stash and knitting stash, so it's not all yarn or not all fibre. It's a good mixture of the two. And I also have, one of them has spindles and bobbins and things like that, and just so I've got them all in one place and can keep a, you know, nice, tight, tidy, you know, little room here where I podcast. And, you know, so I was saying, I've got the John Arbon sale coming up, and I love his yarn, so I know that some of it's going to come home with me, and I don't have a problem with that. But really I kind of ought to cast on what I bought last year, because I spoke about it briefly on the podcast back last year when I bought it, and had greatest intentions to do something with it, and then it sat there. Like most yarns that we buy do, let's face it. And so I think it was about a week before, so yeah, last week I started this project, and I just had to. I caked them all up, I cast it on, and I just felt like I needed to get somewhere with it before I got to the sale and purchased things. It made me feel better. It's not entirely removed everything from my stash, and of course I've definitely refilled that space having been to the sale, but yeah, it kind of made me feel like I was being a bit productive and trying to at least make some headway on that stash. So it was quite, you know, kind of a funny moment really. And I'm sure we all have those moments, so I don't feel totally alone. So let me pop that one back and I'll show you the next one. I think I've got some more. Okay, so spinning. I took some pictures and you will have seen them. One is my Fibre entry. Give you a bit more information about that. The organisers at Fibre are holding a spinning competition. The application for entries is now closed, but I think they've got over about 80 entrants due to be delivered, and I have to deliver my yarn by the 31st of May. I'm also going to donate a prize as a stall holder as well, which I have yet to make. But I'm really pleased with the yarn. I chose a Texel fibre and dyed it up in my After the Storm colourway, and so I spun that up in a standard 2-ply. So I'm not going for anything fancy because, to be honest, I haven't got the time to sit down and do anything extravagant, and it's the first spinning competition I've ever entered, so I'm really not expecting to win. I don't think that I'm the world's best spinner or anything like that, so I kind of thought keep it simple, keep it easy, and just enjoy the experience, right? Because there's nothing worse than getting overstressed with trying to be sort of overly complex and overly competitive as well. So I'm waiting. I've actually rinsed it and I'm drying it at the moment, so I'm going to wait for that to dry and I'll fill in all of the details, and maybe I'll write up a blog post at craftsofTexture.com about that. Try and mention it maybe in the next couple of podcasts, give you a bit more of an idea of what that looked like before I sent it off, because I probably will have sent it off by the time I get a chance to speak to you about it. That's really been my first opportunity to get back to spinning as well since being ill at the beginning of the year. So I quite enjoyed it actually. Being separated from my wheel for that amount of time was, yeah, quite upsetting. I mean, I'm not the world's biggest spinner. I don't, you know, churn out yarns upon yarns upon yarns or anything like that, but I do try and do a little bit each week, even if it's just, you know, kind of 10 minutes at the wheel. And so it was nice to get back to the wheel. So the downside of it being the first yarn that I've spun on my wheel for some months now means that I don't think it was the hugely consistent yarn that I would more likely produce in a well-practiced time, you know. So yeah, I'm really not expecting to win anything at all, but I think it would be quite interesting to enter it as a competition. You know, who knows, maybe to get some feedback about the quality of my spinning and where I can improve maybe. You know, there's always loads to learn, isn't there, about each of the crafts that we do, so, you know, I'm open to constructive criticism and, you know, just going to have fun with it. Not entirely sure what I'll knit with it when I get it back. I'm enjoying the idea of the hitchhiker that I showed you earlier, and I'm definitely going to do another one of those because as part of the craft along, which I'll mention a little bit later, I've still got a few shawls that I have left to knit, and the hitchhiker's been such an easy one for me, and knowing that I'm now coming up to a period of time where I'm going to get lots of shows back to back, and certainly July I have 2, for example, August rest, and then September I have 2. I kind of need as many sort of easy projects as possible, really. So I don't know, maybe it will be a hitchhiker that I can keep for me, because the ones I'm doing at the moment are shop samples, or something like that. I think there's a shawl, similar idea to the hitchhiker, called the Quaker stretch shawl. You might have to correct me if I'm wrong there. But again, that starts from a point and comes out into like a sail shape. It gets bigger and bigger as you increase, and that I think would be quite nice to show the colour variations, because whilst I've got some barber poling in the yarn, I've also got a fair amount of tonal coloration going on, so it'll be quite interesting to see how that knits up. The other spinning project I have, which is here, is something I quickly started at the little show that little event that I did over at one of the local spinning groups, and it's apologise, it's going to look a bit messy, but I did a very, very tiny beginnings of a bat spin, so you can see there it's not hugely fine. It will probably come up to a standard 4-ply once it's set, but it's quite interesting because it's got lots of texture in it. I've got a bit of sparkle, I've got some Gotland curls and so on, so I'm quite enjoying that. And again, that's, you know, like my first project back really since not being too well at the beginning of the year, so it's quite nice to be able to breathe and spin. And thank you also, by the way, to everybody who's you know, come up to me at shows and asked me if I'm feeling better. I really am, so thank you. It really means a lot to me that you think to ask, so thank you. I think that's probably it. Let me just check my show notes. I guess the other thing I've been thinking about really, which are probably relevant to this bit, is again going back to the stash busting, is really to start thinking of more projects that are kind of sorry about that, I had a farmer call me, so yes, hopefully some new fleece soon, can't wait. I'm running very low on the curly stuff, so yeah, looking forward to shearing time, not long now. Okay, so kind of forgot what I was talking about. I think I was talking about stash busting, wasn't I, really? So yeah, I mean, I'm not planning to sort of launch into it with any kind of competitive nature, so I don't know that I will be entering into like the Knit Girls stash down or anything else like that, but I really would like to try and be a bit more mindful about some of the things that I'm choosing to buy maybe and to knit with. I mean, I'm lucky I'm in the position that I'm in where, you know, fibre and yarn is very cheap for me because I pop into the stockroom and purchase some for cost price. But yeah, I need to get through some of what I've got. So over the next few months I may go stash diving. I've not got the hugest stash by any means, but it seems to have kind of crept up recently, so I want to kind of get that down so I can get back out there and buy some new gorgeous stuff. That's not to say that I haven't been stash enhancing, so let's crack on to new stash. Okay, the first thing I want to show you is the new yarn bowl that I bought from my friend on Instagram, Wendy. She is Wendy Fowler, and I think it's Wendy Fowler Pottery on .co.uk, and Wendy Fowler on Etsy. I will include her details on the show notes. But if you remember right, I bought the large yarn bowl version of this, which I think is down there. So if you let me just bend down, I will grab that so we can compare the two. Okay, so this is the yarn bowl, which I adore. That's better there. And this is a little notions bowl to go with it, but actually I think if you've got, like me, quite often I ball up some of my, sorry, I'm locking the boat there. Where did I just put that? Let me bend down again. You remember the hat I was doing? Well, what works quite well is having a small ball of wool in there of a current project that I'm working on. It means that it's not getting snagged or caught up in the project bag. It's freely able to roll in this nice small notions pot, and I can work on this and then store it back in the project bag when I need to put it away in the evening. This is £15, so very reasonably priced. Like I say, fits perfectly with my yarn bowl, and I'm in love with that. That was purchased back from Wonderwall, Wales. I'll pop these down. I'm going to carefully wrap this up again so that I don't break it. Put that down there with the other one. And then the next purchase again was from Wonderwall, and I promised that I would show it and didn't get a chance to show it on the last one. So this is called, it's a Sparkle Duck yarn. My friends at Sparkle Duck do lovely, lovely yarn, and this is essentially their Donegal base, really. They call it their pebble base. It's 400 metres for 100 grams. It's 85% superwash blue face Leicester and 15% Donegal Nep, whereas mine is merino and Donegal Nep. They call this colourway Unicorn Field, and you'll have seen a picture at the beginning there which shows you much better the colours. But yeah, it's just a really nice soft rainbow mix, and I'm looking forward to knitting that up. I'm not sure what I want it to be yet, but they are at www.sparkleduck.co.uk. Sorry, that's them, Sparkle Duck, and they do some really beautiful things, so I urge you to go and check them out. Loving that. The other thing I've been doing is, while I've been dyeing for production, I've been playing with some different ideas. And so this is a short braid of my colour Rosemore, which I'm going to spin up. And then I dyed it also on a darker base. So this is Blueface Leicester oatmeal base, the same colour. So you can see it's come up quite differently. Show you the pink areas, for example. You can see they're quite differently, and I'm going to spin them up into two different yarns, maybe incorporate them in the same project, I'm not sure, but it'll be quite interesting to see how this one in particular knits up, and that has given me some ideas for the future. But these are short skeins. Sometimes what happens when I'm in production is that where I rinse the tops before I start dyeing them, where they're in the pot, where they become really saturated with water through the rinsing process, sometimes they tend to break if you pull quite heavily on one end. It might break part way through or so on, so you end up with these short skeins, if you like, short bumps, and often they get used in carding and things, so it's not a huge problem. It just means that if I'm doing it for someone's order, then I will have to start again, kind of thing. But I decided I would keep these for me and do a little project, because I think I showed you last time my gradient rumba, which I dyed on a darker base, and that kind of inspired me. So I'm going to see how those spin up and then how they knit up, and who knows, that might be something I do for the shop. So I've got those, and then I also pulled myself out another one of my Donegal Aran. This is a one-of-a-kind blended colourway, and I just couldn't let this go. I just couldn't let it go. I get 166 metres or 181.5 yards per 100 grams, and so this is more than enough to make a hat, but I might actually turn this into a cowl, and you can see the little Donegal neps there. and it's just really soft and squishy. So the Rusty Gate one will be a shop sample for a little while, but this one's actually going to be for me, because why not? After having said that I don't need to acquire too much more stash, why not? John Arbon stuff. Wait a minute, got to bend down. I need a table. I need a big table. Okay, so at John's I always buy socks. These are heavier welly socks that I bought today, or I buy his cotton socks as well. So this is a pair of his Exmoor sock, and these, actually Darren picked these up. These are 44% Exmoor Blueface wool, 44% British wool and 12% nylon. So these are actually for Darren. They are tipped, heels, toes and tipped at the cuff, and it's a lovely mustard and teal colour, and he's chosen those as his winter welly boots. Welly boot socks I should say. For me, I picked up a pair of their Exmoor stroller socks, 75% Exmoor Blueface and 25% nylon, and I've picked a purple and more like a peacock blue colourway. Forward to wearing those in my wellies. I always feel it's important to grab as many of those as you can while you see them, and of course at the mill sale day they are exceedingly good value, really are. And then I got myself another pair of his cotton socks. They are 80% cotton and 20% nylon. You can buy all of these at www.jarbon.com. So that's Jarbon, Jarbon.com. A lilac and mint pair. And then we get onto the yarn. Again, I didn't buy a huge amount, but these were in the sales section and they happen to be the closest I could get to kind of dye batches. These are his knit by numbers, double knit, and I got 2 in number 76, which is like a kind of mulberry colour, which I'm kind of falling for at the moment. It's mulberry sides of purples, or very distinct blue purples I like, alongside my navies, my blues and my silvery greys tend to be the colours that I'm going for at the moment. So I'm thinking those will go with the final 2 yarns that I bought. If I put the bag down, I bought, this is colour number 12, and this is like a kind of fawny colour. It's probably fairly close, and I think those might go quite well together if I striped them somehow. I've got, I guess, roughly 400 grams there. They say they're all 100 grams each, but I think these might be slightly shorter skeins, which I don't mind too much. Just have more of the mulberry colour, but that's certainly enough to make like a t-shirt from, and I think that will stripe quite nicely, or be able to do some kind of contrast quite nicely from. So that's it. That's what I purchased. So I feel like I have projects going out or new stash coming in, so I don't feel too bad about that. I mean, like I say, I haven't got the most out of control of stashes. I just feel like I kind of need to be a little bit more mindful at the moment. So yeah, expect lots of new projects. I don't know where I'll necessarily cast on a lot more new projects, because I have my craft along on the go, which is quite specific and deadline based. But yeah, certainly over the year I plan to knit through sweaters worth, and try and maybe spin sweaters worth of fibre as well. So yeah, watch this space. Talking of the craft along, let's talk about the join in section. So in this final section, which is a new section for the podcast, or a new category for the podcast, I just wanted to talk about the idea of joining in and maybe making the most of my Facebook groups, my blog, the Ravelry group, and kind of using them as an excuse to join in a lot more. The first thing I guess we should talk about is the current craft along, which is the May to September shawls. As I've mentioned in previous podcasts and on the blog, it can be basically you have from May to September to make a shawl or several shawls. It can be something that you have had on the needles for a while but want to use this as an excuse to finish. It could be a new project you have for a deadline, or it could even be early Christmas knitting. It can be anything you like. It just has to be a shawl at the end of the day. So it can be felted, it can be spun to knit, it can be dyed the yarn to knit, it can be just buy the yarn to knit it, it can be crochet, it can be woven. It just needs to be a shawl. And the idea is that you will craft along with me in the Ravelry group. We'll chat along as we do it, share pictures, share ideas, and generally have a bit of fun. And I'm going to use it as motivation to make samples for the website. So if I show you again the hitchhiker, apologies for the wobbling. So this is the second of my shawls, and really have felt motivated and enjoyed the conversation so far in knitting this. So thank you very much, guys, who are over there. There's lots of interesting things going on. There's somebody currently who is so I'm just going to let the dog in. Hello, Pickle. Are you coming in? Hello. She's dyeing a braid of fibre to match to a braid that she's purchased from me, and then spinning to knit afterwards. And there's somebody who is making a shawl that looks like a very complex kind of process of knitting, and it's really interesting to see everybody's different takes on things. And there's several of us doing hitchhikers at the moment, so you know, if you fancy giving that a go, then use this as an excuse to cast on and come and have a bit of fun. So you can find me over there as Sara's Texture Crafts, and the group is Sara's Texture Crafts and Dreaming and Fibre podcast. All are welcome. You don't need to be a member of the group to enter this. You can be a guest in the group. There are no prizes, so there are kind of no strict rules on that front. It's just an opportunity for us to have some fun, so I hope that you will join me over there. I think that's it really for the podcast today, so I'm going to leave it there and let you crack on, and I'm going to crack on with labelling lots of dried fibre and yarn that I've dyed up for Proper Woolly, which will be the next podcast. So whatever you're doing, have a really good time, enjoy yourselves, and I'll catch up with you soon. So keep dreaming in fibre, guys. Cheers. Patch thought she would come and say hello. Say hello, Patch. Say hello to everybody.